Herb Cohen. Today I want to talk about medical assisted addiction treatment, specifically the use of buprenorphine or Suboxone, as it's more commonly known as in its trade name. Suboxone is now widely embraced by both the addiction community and by policymakers in the state as a part of medical assisted pharmacology for treating addiction. And it's being rolled out, and there's money being rolled out to promote access to people being able to obtain Suboxone, especially in regard to moving off of heroin addiction. Heroin addiction is, kind of got everyone fired up. It's gotten out of control. It's become an epidemic. People are dying from heroin, and we need to do something about it. And so pharmacology has developed a tool. And Suboxone is an interesting drug in that it does two things at once. It blocks opiates. It has a blockade that's 60%, and 40% it's opiate. It's an opiate agonist, that's called. And so people are actually getting a narcotic to get off of heroin. Well, basically, that's how you stop withdrawal. If you have alcohol withdrawal and you take a drink, it will stop your withdrawal symptoms. So basically, using Suboxone for its intended use, which is to get off of heroin, it was originally intended to then be titrated down and be a short-term usage. But what's happened is people who use Suboxone struggle with getting off of Suboxone because they become addicted to Suboxone. Now, the problem there is, well, we've adapted to that. So we have now a Suboxone maintenance is what we do. And this is a similar pathway that methadone took, because methadone initially was intended to get people off heroin, and now that morphed into methadone maintenance, where twice a day people wait online at a methadone clinic and get their methadone and don't have to use heroin because it takes away the cravings for heroin, just as Suboxone takes away the cravings to use heroin. You can be on Suboxone for 2 to 3 doses a day, but getting off Suboxone is as difficult as getting off methadone. And methadone is 10 times harder to get off of than heroin is. So what are we really doing here? Is this really treatment? We're substituting an illicit drug, heroin. We're substituting drug dealers for doctors, and for a legal drug now, a prescription, prescribed pharmacology. But there's a little bit of a problem. Now that Suboxone is out and been used, and now we're seeing people and working with people who are on Suboxone, what we're noticing is that people can get high on Suboxone. Even though Big Pharma says, no, we've designed this so that that opiate blockade prevents people from getting high on Suboxone. It's just not reality. Reality is people can pool several doses together and get high on Suboxone. They can mix it with other drugs. They can mix it with alcohol, which is very dangerous, and get high. And Suboxone addicts seem to be doing that more and more. And so this is now a new drug problem. And it's a prescribed drug problem. We're creating this problem. And the more we promote Suboxone treatment, and I know addiction agencies in my area are boasting about their ability now, we can prescribe this for you. They're excited by this option. And the problem is we need to know the truth going into this. Are we going to take one addiction and swap it out for another addiction? And if that's what we're doing, that's what we need to say we're doing. We don't want to label this medical assisted treatment when we're not really treating anybody's addiction here. We're enabling their addiction. We're continuing their addiction. And the problem is, like, I do EMDR on heroin addicts, so they can be actively using, and I have 100% success in remitting, switching off dependency using EMDR. In basically 1 or 2 sessions, we can swap off that chemical dependency, and we can make it permanent by targeting those underlying causes of their addiction, because we can see that addiction is implicit memory, and if we target implicit memory with EMDR, we switch it off. I can do that with alcohol, cocaine, crystal meth, any of these drugs, but not Suboxone. It doesn't work with Suboxone, and I wish I knew why. I tried to get research done, but up and down the coast, researchers won't work with me because EMDR, switching off chemical dependency, is not what pharmacology wants to learn about. And that's who's funding the research. Or large addiction agencies that fund research don't want to know about a quick fix where there's no relapse. I don't do relapse prevention in my practice. It's not needed. I actually discharge people because they complete treatment. They don't need to keep coming back. We take care of the addiction. That's treatment. Suboxone is enabling addiction. It's putting people at risk because it's an addiction that it's hard to get off of. There's no answer to get off of Suboxone, but we can take care of heroin. So I think heroin just has a bad rap because it sounds bad. The people who are overdosing or accidentally getting fentanyl, they're doing too much heroin. The heroin addicts, in no doubt, need help. But if we could take all the money that was spent on pharmacology research and put it into EMDR research and to show and validate why EMDR is working, and take some of that money and train addiction professionals in addiction treatment centers to do EMDR for addiction, we would change the face of dependency and drug abuse. Drug dealers would be going out of business. Our death rates would drop. We could become non-existent. People would be rejoining their families, reclaiming their lives again on a large-scale basis, not on the small practice that I have. Oh, I'm sorry, you caught me daydreaming again. Well, someday maybe we'll move our addiction model along, and I'm just speaking to you from the future. Until I see you there, my name is Herb Cohen, and I hope no one is offended by this video, but I like to tell the truth, and I feel the truth needs to be told. So I'm going to keep making these videos, but feel free to comment. Feel free to debate this issue. As I say always, a discussion on such topics is welcome and needed, and it's needed right now. And we need to pay attention to what we're doing and take responsibility, because we should always be doing the most ethical thing we can possibly do as humans to help one another. Speak to you soon.